The wonderful thing about the world is everything having its own solution. You see a mechanic to fix your car, a dentist to fix your teeth, a hairdresser to fix your bowl cut. But when it comes to seeing someone to fix yourself, there's a reluctancy. Despite all the resources and people available to help me, I reject them, continuing to endure these feelings in this situation. I don't know when or even how, but it'll be okay. I don't need any help.
I just wanna fucking cry.
Growing into independence can begin very subtly. For me, it was the moment I had a doctor's appointment and my mother wasn't there to explain my symptoms. From that point, I gradually began to inherit the responsibilities of my life. Make my own income, disciplining myself with my studies, and maintaining my physical and emotional health. Unfortunately, it's becoming too much for me. These responsibilities have become weights that I've been carrying for years, and I need to keep carrying them, but my arms are getting tired. People will say, "I'm here for you," or "If you need anything, just let me know." But like those free vouchers you get in the mail, it's an offer that's practically never redeemed. Unless truly desperate, I steer away from seeing others as a solution for when I'm in need, whether it be a favor or to vent. But why? To be independent means to support yourself without the need of external aid. There is this universal perception that independence is a sign of strength, and it makes sense. If you're capable enough to carry the weight of those responsibilities, then yeah, you're strong. Strength is a trait that I aspire for because if I'm not strong, I'd have to label myself the alternative. Since independence equates to strength, then naturally we can assume that dependence equates to weakness. If I were to depend on someone financially, academically, or emotionally, I'd be weak. It doesn't help when you were raised to rely only on yourself, so the idea to depend seems like a regression of personal growth. It's humiliating to be going backwards when you're growing up. To prove I'm not weak, I need to bear the weight of being me. So, there's also the fear that by depending on someone, you are burdening them. They already have their own life with their own responsibilities. Why would I drag them into my own struggles? I don't want to weigh anyone down. By asking someone for help, I'm asking them to give up their time and energy for me. For nothing. For nothing in return. It's a rip-off, and I'm afraid that asking for this would put the relationship at risk. What if I come across as annoying or too needy? What if they don't like me anymore because I drain them of their time and energy? Even if they insist that I'm not being a burden, my brain will say, what if they're just saying that, or what if they're just being nice? All these what if excuses to not get help because truthfully, I'm convinced I don't deserve it. Will they see it as them giving, I see it as me taking. I feel guilty, fraudulent for taking help that I never earned. Just because I exist, I'm entitled to kindness? I don't like asking for what I don't deserve. Time and energy are a finite and valuable resource, and I hate when people spend it on anything but themselves because of my shenanigans. I may be struggling with these weights, but depending on someone has implications that weigh heavily themselves. It's an anxiety and guilt on top of everything that I already bear. But it's easily avoidable. How? Because I don't ask for help. The assignments keep coming, the shifts keep coming, the weight isn't going anywhere, and I'm tired. It's at this point you realize, is there a solution? Realistically, how is this situation going to get better on my own? It's not. There's only so much you can do for yourself, and once you've done that, as it turns out, my best solution is to depend. All this time I've been avoiding asking for help, I've been making the active decision to settle in my suffering. If life had the option to be easier, and you reject that option, it's as if you want a more difficult life. To be honest, I actually did. I sabotaged myself by overloading on work and study because I thought the grind was a prerequisite for strength. Despite being a banger, the idea that what doesn't kill you makes you stronger can be dangerous. It makes us tolerate suffrage, welcome it even. But it's overstayed its welcome. My desire for strength initially justified my suffering, but it's now become a motivation to suffer, to the point of self-infliction. I didn't need to be so unhappy or tired, it was so unnecessary. I don't want a difficult life anymore. The truth is, I need to depend. And that's okay. The only person who didn't think it was okay was you. And the parents, but they didn't know what you were dealing with. To be honest, you didn't know what you were dealing with. Growing up isn't a choice, it's a situation that we're thrusted into. We begin to inherit many responsibilities, some of which are given unwillingly and unknowingly. The landlord raised the rent, you're now responsible for affording it, otherwise eviction. Enroll in an architecture degree, you're now responsible for writing an entire thesis within a day, otherwise you fail. You didn't ask to be lactose intolerant, and now you're responsible for drinking lactose-free milk, otherwise you'll shit yourself. Specific circumstances have consequences that need to be neutralized through responsibility. Responsibilities that can be well above your weight. It's not that you're weak, you're genuinely carrying too much. The absence of strength doesn't mean the presence of weakness. When you go to the gym and do the bench press, you rely on a spotter, someone to relieve the strain of 200 pounds only when you start to struggle. It's not handing them the entire weight, it's making sure that you don't get crushed and die, so that you can replenish yourself. Most of the time, you would find that people would be happy to spot you despite doing their own workout. It's crazy that good people just exist and offer unconditional kindness. No malicious intent, no pretending to be nice, and nothing in return. I told myself I'm undeserving of people's kindness. But who am I to say what I deserve? It's unfair to dictate your own punishments and rights when you judge yourself subjectively. Meanwhile, there are people who care. The spotters who recognize the weight you carry, who recognize that you deserve kindness. Gradually, I've learned to trust them when they say, I'm here for you, and trust them when they say, you're not a burden. It allows me to depend. Our most genuine relationships aren't fragile enough to be completely broken just because you ask for help. If they are too busy or they do have too much on their plate, it's simply that. Their perception of you isn't ruined unless you decide to disrespect that boundary. Of course, there's the risk of becoming too dependent. At what point can you recognize that you are potentially being a burden? You should always be wary of people's time and energy. If you don't see it as valuable, and instead an expectation or an entitlement, it becomes exploitation. You're now selfishly draining them. But I trust myself not to do that, and they trust me not to do that. That's what it is, isn't it? Independence and dependency aren't a measurement of strength, they're a measurement of trust. When you depend on someone, you trust them with your feelings and situation, have faith that they want to and can support you. Though that's not to say that independence means to have no trust. Being independent means that you have trust in yourself with your responsibilities. I avoided dependency because I had faith in myself to handle life entirely on my own. But even if they're opposites, dependency and independence can coexist. Like sweet and savory, you can indulge in both. Your diet isn't solely savory. You can always help yourself to kindness. Isn't that sweet? When it comes to remedying feelings and situations, independence and dependence represent our trust in ourselves and others respectively. To have no trust is to suffer. To have too much trust is to be negligent. But if you find that middle ground, you can take the opportunities that surround us to be happier and healthier. The human race is a glorified community. Relying on each other is how we survived and evolved. So redeem those vouchers. Life doesn't have to be so hard.
I just wanna fucking cry.
If I were to depend on Taco, I swear to God, if you go on the piano, don't you dare. You're approaching, yep, and you're in the frame. And you're in the frame.